on, and we're good here. Okay, going live and going live. 1, 2, 3, and says you're live. Hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way, everyone. Oh my goodness. Believe it or not, we're here for another great show of Native American myths and legends. And tonight we got a special guest on, Linda Brooks. Thank you for coming. And of course, my wonderful co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. And tonight we're going to talk about all kinds of good stuff. We're going to bring you stuff from far and away and from history and from the present and the future. We're going to
great show of
put them all together and we're going to make one great show out of it. And you're going to learn a lot and we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. But it's going to be about tonight. My stuff is going to be about bows and arrows, spears and tools and the hunting of snares and traps and things like that. Although I'm not a big hunter, I guess the Indians had to be, because otherwise they would have starved if they didn't. They just were eating tree branches, you know. And so anyway, while we're waiting, we're going to get going here in a little bit, because everybody is over at Ryder Lee's watching a great show over there, because Amber Dawn is talking with Ryder Lee tonight, and it's a great show. Go check them out. We got to support all the Soul Tribe out there, and Ryder Lee is one of the good ones, and he has Amber on, and tonight that's going to be a good show. So David Null, what do you got for us tonight?
Oh, the usual goofiness, you know. We're going to kind of sort of start off where we left off in the book. You know, we've been skipping all over that book. Oh, and by the way, I want to greet everyone and with greetings from the great creator. And we're always praying for everybody and hoping the best. And, you know, accept and receive all those things in the universe that are available. All you got to do is just accept them. So, but anyway, we hope you're doing well, and thank you for tuning in, and thanks, Linda, for coming in tonight. You surprised me. You didn't tell me. Oh, we're gonna have Linda. Thanks, buddy.
Well, you know what
real friends do. They surprise you with stuff at the last minute.
That is, you know, what's really funny is I sent you out a Zoom link last week. Or early last week when I wrote it all up, and I sent you a Zoom link. I hit the wrong day, and then because I usually send one earlier and then I send one later, but I sent the wrong day, and poor Linda got on yesterday like, where are you?
Oh no, had me hustling. I was coming back from a soccer game. I got stuck in a accident on 40, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm only gonna have like 15 minutes when I get there to get everything together, and I didn't think I was gonna make it. And then I was like, where is he? He's not here.
Well, here's a weird thing. Yesterday, I was taking somebody to the bus station near here, and I kept thinking, God, I got to get back. We got a show tonight. And I was like, no, this is Monday. But I swear to you, all evening.
It was my energy. It was me, David. I was like, maybe get it out there.
But I was like, man, I got a show tonight. And I was like, no, tomorrow. But for 2 hours, it was really strong. Like, am I supposed to be doing a show tonight with Robert? Anyway.
Yeah. That was why. See?
Yeah.
I guess because I told my friend Michael, I said, man, I feel like I should be doing a show with Robert. And I know it's tomorrow. Today's Monday, right? Yeah. Getting on the bus Monday, right? Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's interesting.
Well, you know, I mean, I hit the wrong button. I must have been looking at the days, and I just, you know, I missed it by one. Sorry. I really apologize for that screw up. It was not intentional.
It's all right. I figured it out.
You probably thought, why is he doing his show on Monday night?
I did. I went back and looked, and I was like, I know he doesn't do it on Mondays, but maybe he's working. I don't know. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll get that all fixed out. Like I said, I sent you my number. That way you can, like, at least, hey, where are you? You know, I did that with David before. Where are you?
I said, I'm asleep on the couch. Waiting to do the show.
Hey, it happens to all of us. So, you know, we'll just go with the flow. There's everybody coming in. They're piling in. They're almost be done with Ryder Lee's show, but we got Witchy Moons in the house. Big Al, who's somewhere in probably headed to Arkansas. And Michelle Can-Am Free, our love girl. Thank you for coming. Much love to you. And Delaney Pearl Jones, who was on last week. What a great show. If you didn't catch that, go catch that show where you can see the stuff in the basement. And if you can't see it on the thing, which I tried to watch, it wasn't so good on there. Go to her Facebook page. I'm sure she'll let you watch it on there. Facebook page. Watch all of Delaney's stuff. Oh my goodness. You will not come away from there without being a believer that there's something else going on. Susie Q is in the house. Thank you for coming. We got, well, there's everybody coming in. Hello, Isby. Isby's going to be on Thursday with our continuation of King Og, and our saga continues as the giants now have the Moonchild, and as the Moonchild is being killed and the creation is going to crap, and and all that stuff. So if you want to know the ending of the story and what happens next, you better tune in on Thursday night, same time, same place. So anyway, so what do we got for tonight? I am going to do all about bows and arrows and sticks and stones, and all of that stuff, a little bit of history. But we want to hear first about, Linda, let's hear about your history. How does this all tie in to you? Why are you on this show tonight? Why is this so special? Tell us the story behind this.
Well, first, let me say Osio, which is hello in Cherokee. I've been working on that. I speak Spanish, but Cherokee's a little hard to learn. It's got a little different tones to all the words and everything. But what happened with me was way back when my parents got together. My mother was young, my father left, and I never knew him. I did meet him twice when I was a child. I barely remember meeting him, didn't know who he was. And I met him a few years ago, like right before his mother passed away, and learned a few things. And I had moved at that time. I had moved from North Carolina to South Carolina. And I always felt like my grandmother had told me a little bit about, she thought they were Cherokee and that they owned Fox Mountain Weaving, which made horse blankets and all this stuff. So I didn't know too much. And I was all the way down in South Carolina, moved down there, got a job, had a place to live. And I'm managing a store. And one day, this shaman of the Cherokee tribe in North Carolina, where I'm from, actually came in my store and walked straight up to me and said, "Do you know your Chickamauga Cherokee?" And I was like, "What? No, I mean, I know my family's got some Cherokee." He was like, "No." And he's like, "Your facial features." And then he told me my lazy left eye. So you got some English in there somewhere, though, because that lazy left eye you got going on. And I was like, "Okay." And he just starts telling me things. And he says, "You were the Lower River people. You were very important to the Cherokee Nation, your family line." He said, "Your name is Dancing Deer." He said, "I see a deer on this side and I see 3 deer dancing across the way this side." And he said, "That means that you have had a lot of adversity in your life, that you've always danced gracefully through it." And he continued to tell me about that my family was on the Baker roll, and I had there was a plot of land for us there. And I gave him my grandmother's name. My grandfather was a Pearson, but my grandmother was Nellie Mae Lell. And he said, "Yes, I know the Lell family." And after that, he looked at me and he said, "I see your aura, and I see a huge blue beam just coming from out of the top of your head, shooting to the heavens." He said, "Your blessings are coming." He said, "Keep dancing gracefully through the adversity because your blessings are coming." And his name was Chief Jack. Oh my gosh, I just forgot it. I just told you it. It's Chief Jack Leather. What did I tell you? Do you remember? Oh, I wrote it down for you. I wrote it down for you, so I have it. It was Feather Love. Yes, Chief Jack Feather Love Johnson, and he's actually a priest, a shaman, and a chief. He was a chief in that tribe. But after he left, I started looking into things. I started doing my ancestry DNA and not ancestry DNA, but ancestry tree, and pulling up names. And I led my family all the way back to Chief Dragon Canoe, who was the rebel leader of the Chickamauga Cherokee. After they signed the treaties and decided that they were going to try to make peace, he said, no, I'm not doing this. He rounded up most of the Cherokee tribe. The majority did not want to do this. And they moved down to, in Tennessee, down along the Chickamauga River, which is called the River of Death. That's what it means. Chickamauga means the River of Death. And he kept fighting the Americans. He joined up with several other tribes like the Muskogee, the Shawnee, like several other tribes joined up with him to fight against the American settlers. And they fought for a very long time. I mean, he had many warriors underneath him that later became tribal leaders after he passed away. And now he wasn't full-blooded Cherokee, however. His parents were, let me not mispronounce their names. His parents were Noni was her first name. Well, hold on one second. I got it right here. Okay. He was the son of Ada Kula Kula, who was known as Little Carpenter. And he was a Nipissing originally, and he was adopted into the Cherokee tribe. And then his mother was Neone Ollie, who was known as Tame Doe, and she was a Natchez who had been adopted by the Cherokee. And so neither of his parents belonged to the Cherokee tribe. Now, in the Cherokee tribes, they were matriarchal, so all the bloodlines come from the mother, and the mothers own the land, and they pass things down to their daughters. And they also have 7 clans of the Cherokee tribe. She was part of the Red Paint clan, which were the medicine people, which makes a lot of sense to me because that's really my passion in life, is herbal medicine and remedies and things like that. But what a lot of people don't know is they believe that they came from the Iroquois, but they did not. They do share a language with them. But actually, the place where the Cherokee come is called the Cotu people. And their legend is that the 7 wisest men of the tribe in ancient Cherokee went to the highest point in the land and fasted for 7 days and nights. And they asked the Creator for guidance. And today that place is known as Clingman's Dome, and it's actually in North Carolina. I've been to it. It's a very beautiful place. And on the 7th night, the Creator told them, "You shall be called Tiwa." So the Tiwas, it's there present day. The Katuan Mound is there present day, and it's in Bryson City, North Carolina. So I've been there too. It's very beautiful if you ever get a chance to go. But they gave them the first fire. The Creator then gave them the first fire of the people and gave them their name. And this is told by the Eastern Band Cultural Office that was developed in the site's been there. It's historic since 1972. So we have a little bit different thought about our origins and where we come from than what some of the other Native American legends tell. I've been in a few arguments with people that we were Iroquois, and I was like, no, we share a language, but we're not from there. Like, not from what I've gotten from my ancestors that I've talked with. So, is there anything else you want to know?
Well, that would be interesting to find out some of those creation. We do a lot of creation stories here, and where each tribe came from. Haven't we, David? We've gone through, I don't know how many. Yeah, a lot of them.
A lot. Well, can I add something too? Now, my family are the last. I was adopted as a Null, but my father's name was Lee, and I'm supposedly, and there's a lot of evidence that I am related to Robert E. Lee. But in Western Virginia, I think it was his grandson married into the Cherokee, and then subsequent family members married into the Cherokee. There's 3 generations of grandmothers that were that I'm supposedly derived from, along with the rest of the family, but they won't talk about it. They refuse to discuss the Indian side of things. They won't even discuss the other, but they're very tight-lipped about it. But what I found out about the Cherokee, though, being down here, there's Southern Cherokee, there Muskogee, there's a Muskogee Creek, there's a Seminole. I mean, it just seems like there were people wandering around a lot, you know? And I don't think that there's really a true blood of any of them, because there were people wandering around and go, hey, look, you know, hey, if I hang around and help y'all, we'll make you a part of the tribe. And people integrated, you know, in the society, because there wasn't much else, right? If a guy saw a pretty girl and they got along real well, then there went that, you know, two tribes just intermingled. Or no tribe, and a white man or black man. Down here in the South, there are a lot of black Cherokee. And the women are gorgeous. Now, I would like to say that about the men, but they are handsome men. I mean, it's unmistakable. They're just absolutely gorgeous people. But as far as they're just being like one folk, I think the Cherokee had the group up in North Carolina and so forth. But as far as the Southern tribe, which just had a powwow last weekend, that it's a mixture of people.
It is, and I found in a lot of my studies with several of different tribes, like the Mohawks and some others that were up and down the East Coast, they were well known for taking in anyone. If I know they would go if they ever bought like slaves or anything like that. They felt bad for these people. Like, why would their tribe not want them? And they would actually give them tests to see if they were worthy of being part of the tribe. And if they passed that test, then they became official Cherokee, and they were forever known as Cherokee. And It didn't matter what color their skin was. But they did adopt in a lot of children, even like if they had wars and the children got left behind, they would scoop those kids up and take them back with them and raise them as their own. So yes, there's a lot of diversity in most of the Native American tribes.
And speaking of children left behind, a dear friend of mine, Kashka LaRue, was one of the Tlinkits legend keepers. And I've met him over the years and we became friends. And he told me stories about the tribe in Alaska. He said there were the Tlinkits were basically 4 different tribes, different sections, but different sections did not mingle. They just didn't. And I said, okay. And I said, then what would you do? And he said, well, if it's A, B, C, and D, and C and B can't go together, and they have a child. He said, as soon as the child is born, it's taken out on the ice and left.
Wow.
And I said, what?
That's
And
very different too. Wow.
He said, listen, he said, they knew better back then that if the intermingling of the genes, it would be a whole lot worse than one child. And they could see into the future with this. And I thought, you mean they were actually worried? He goes, oh yeah, they were really worried about the tribe getting messed up and whatever. And he said, so they had these rules. It was okay for these two, it was okay for these two, but not these two. And he said, but if a child was born, they said they just took him out on the ice and left him.
You know, in the Cherokee tribes, though, they had 7 clans. They were the long hair, the blue, the wolf, the wild potato, deer, the bird, and the paint tribe, of the paint clans. And they were the exact opposite. You were not allowed to marry within your clan. You had to marry somebody outside of your clan, which is completely different, because they felt like if you married somebody in your clan, that was like, it would mess the DNA up. Like it could cause genetic problems.
Right.
They had seen that, I guess, that it happened. They married inside the clan. So that's very different.
They didn't say that they couldn't marry within the clan. They said there were 2 particular clans that you couldn't marry. They could not mingle. Okay. It wasn't that you couldn't marry someone within your clan, but like A and D did not get along. Nope. Nope. Or B and C. Nope. Whatever their rule was, he said, if a child was born, it was taken out and put on the ice. And I said, that's cruel. And he said, no. He said, the elders saw the future. And he said it was to protect the clan. It was to protect the Tlingit family tribe. And I was like, man, that just sounds brutal to me. You know, why not just kill it? Take it out on the ice. And he said it was an offering to the Great Spirit and to the sea and to the whales and otters and everything. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Guess it makes
I've never
sense to
heard
them.
that. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I guess that way they look at it like maybe it's got a chance. Never know. It's better not
Yeah.
knowing than knowing. You know.
Mhm.
The way is in the house. Hello, and we got Deborah Sloan, Isby, Emperor Rex, Big Al, who's getting ready to head out for his 5,000-mile trip across the nation. Let's see what else is there. But anyway, yeah, wow, what a story. Geez, you know, I mean, it's amazing how, like you said, but I suppose as they got thinned out throughout the years, you know, it's like it's better to team up with another Indian tribe than it is to team up where you're not wanted, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, something like that, I guess. It's just my thinking, my theory.
So I asked him about that, and he said if two people from different clans that they knew they weren't supposed to do it, they would just leave the tribe. And that was acceptable. But, you know, if they tried to stay within the tribe and they were from these opposing clans, no, you have to follow the rules. So in a way, it was genetic manipulation. And he tried to, Kashka tried to give me the impression, and it took me a while to like see it. It still sounds cruel, but that, you know, they were trying to protect the genetics within the whole tribe. And these two just didn't mix. Whatever the creator told them, they said, you don't mix these two. And they followed the rule for 3,200 years or something. And I was like, now that's a while, you know. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just thought that was interesting about when you said left behind. Boy, and he said they didn't, it wasn't like it happened all the time, but when it did, that was the result.
Yeah, amazing. Well, see, this is how things come out. Look at all you learned tonight, right? That's how we learn and we learn and we learn. Oh yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to do my little thing here. I got lots of pictures and photos, and then we'll move on to other things here in a second. Okay, tonight we're going to talk about bows and arrows and you know, different things that people had to here, see if I can make this bigger. Yes, I can. Look at that. American Indians did not always have, this is interesting stuff, believe it or not. American Indians did not always have the bow and arrow. It was not until about 500 AD that the bow and the arrows was adopted in Iowa, some 11,500 years after the first people came to the region. Primary benefits of the bow and the arrow over the spear are more rapid missile velocity, higher degree of accuracy, and greater mobility. Arrows also required substantially less raw materials than spearheads. A flint napper could produce a large number of small projectile points from a single piece of sherrit. Even the guns many advantages in the historic era. Bows and arrows are much quieter than guns, allowing the hunter more chances to strike the prey. Okay, the Indians used arrows to kill animals as large as bison and elk. Hunters approach their prey on foot or on horseback, accurately targeting vulnerable areas. The choice of materials and the design of the arrows and the bow were not random. Some materials were generally more readily available than others. Environmental conditions also affected the choice of materials. Humidity affected wooden bows, and temperature affects horns and antlers. The intended use of the system on foot or horseback, for instance, affects the final design. Bows used while mounted on horseback tend to be shorter than the bows used when on foot. Since the length of the bow determines the stress placed on the bow when drawn, the shorter bows tend to be made of composite materials, while bows used when on foot can be made of wood. Indians used a variety of materials to make the bows, salve, and rely on materials that met certain, hang on, I gotta turn the page, requirements. Most important of which is flexibility without breaking, which is primarily what bows are made to do. Several species of plants, some animal materials met these requirements: ash, hickory, locust, osage, orange, cedar, juniper, oak, walnut, birch, oak, or chokecherry, serviceberry, and mulberry woods were used. So if you got some of those in your backyard, you can make a bow. Elk antler, mountain sheep horn, bison horn, and ribs, and caribou antler were also used where available. Bow construction techniques included a single stave of wood, self bow, wood with a sinew reinforced back bow, and a combination of horn and antler with sinew backing composite bow. Hide glue was used to attach the backing. Bowstrings most frequently were made of sinew, animal back, or leg tendon. Rawhide or gut. The Dakota Indians also used cord made from the neck of snapping turtles. Occasionally, plant fibers such as inner bark or basswood, slippery elm, or cherry trees and yucca were used. Nettles, milkweed, and dogbane are also suitable fibers. Well-made plant fibers string is superior to string made of animal fibers because it holds the most weight while resisting stretching and remaining strong in damp conditions. However, plant fiber strings are generally much more labor intensive to make than the animal strings, and preference in recent past was for sinew, gut, or rawhide. Arrow shafts were made out of shoots such as dogwood, wild rose, ash, birch, chokecherry, and black locust. Reeds from common reed grass were also used with some frequency throughout North America, with the exception of the plains where reeds did not grow. Shoots were shaved, sanded, or heated and pressed, straightened. Tools made of bone or sandstone were used to straighten the shaft of the wood because they are on the next page. Points were attached to the arrow shafts in a variety of methods. Most frequently, the arrow shafts would have a slit cut in the end to accept the point. The sinew then be wrapped around the shaft to pinch the sill close. Points also be half directly by wrapping sinew around the point and around the arrow shaft. Metal points generally were attached using the same technique, only infrequently attached by means of a socket. Indians made these types of arrowheads. In addition to the traditional triangular stone arrowhead, carved wood or leather points have large, broad surfaces. Different types of arrow tips were used for different purposes, such as large game versus small game. Small triangular stones points are not bird points. Large blunt tip wooden points were used for birds. Harpoon-like points also exist and were used for fishing. They used things for fishing, huh? Fletching of bird feathers was sewn to or inserted into the shaft. Feathers of wild turkey were preferred, but many other birds included eagle, crow, goose, hawk, and turkey were often used. Sinew was generally used to attach the fletching by first stripping some of the feathers from the front and back of the vane, and then tying the vane to the shaft in front of and behind the remaining feathers. Sometimes plant twine was used to sew through the quill. Hide glue was used, or instead of sinew ties. Animal products like sinew have the advantage of tightening as they dry. Next page. The fletching balances weight of the arrowhead to prevent the arrow from tumbling end over end in flight. When the fletching properly, an arrow may spin in flight, producing an ideal trajectory. A similar effectiveness is gained by placing grooves in the barrel of the rifle to cause the bullet to spin. In fact, until the invention of rifled guns, bows generally proved to be more accurate and could shoot arrows further than powder thrown missiles, and the bow and arrow is complex technology. Each element must be balanced in proportion to the others and the user to make the effective tool. The bow acts as a pair of springs connected by a grip or handle, and the string is pulled, the material on the inside or the belly of the bow limbs compressed, while the outside or back is stretched and placed under tension. This action stores the energy used to draw the string back. When the string is released, the limbs quickly return to the state of rest and release the energy stored by drawing the string. Therefore, the power of the bow is measured in terms of draw weight. There you go, your physics lesson for today. Oops, I gotta pull this up. And the height and strength of the archer determines the ideal draw weight of the bow. A combination of length of the draw and the draw weight of the bow determines the collapse of propelling force. Adjusting the either or both of these features allows the arrowhead to be made larger or smaller as needed. The draw weight of the bow also determines the deal. You guys don't want to hear all this. This is just technical terms. But anyway, if you haven't played with a bow, you should go find a bow and play with it. I know I had one when I was a kid and it was great. The length of the bow or the length of the draw, also determined by the body of the archer, determines the length of the arrow. The maximum cast of the bow determines the maximum weight of the point, and this is how we know that certain arrowheads cannot really have been used on an arrow, at least not to any good effect. The general rule of thumb is that the stone arrowhead will be less than 1.5 by 3/4 inches in diameter and will generally weigh less than 1 ounce. Larger arrowheads probably would have been spears, darts, or knife tips. That's a little fun fact that I didn't know either. And I didn't know they had glue across the land bridge. It's generally understood that humans first entered North America from Asia, across the Bering Strait via Alaska in several different waves, beginning around 20,000 years ago. It's pretty certain that the archery migrated then too. And because the when Europeans contact started in the Middle Ages, the bow was universal throughout North America. The tradition in the Arctic was to use self bows, which will theoretically construct of a single piece of wood and multiple pieces of wood horn together with a complex. I think I read all this stuff kind of before in the other article. So we'll move on. Native American tradition, the bow and arrow became an embodiment of the power of magic, power granted through the spirit world. Bow and arrow making became a specialist skill, just like in medieval England. Around 1,000 years ago, the technology resulted in triumph of the bison hunting peoples of the plains, which transformed every native society in North America. Much of what we know about Native American archery tradition and skill come from Ishii, the last surviving member of the massacred Yadai India tribe who came out of hiding in California in 1911 at the age of 50. Ishii's extraordinary archery skills had some distinctively aesthetic features. His bow release was a variant of the Mongolian release, using the thumb to draw the string, but without a thumb ring. And on release, he relaxed his bow hand to let the bow rotate in his hand, which is what Japanese Kyoto archers still practice. His techniques for flint knapping, bow making, and bow hunting are still studied today. Well, that is interesting. I did not know that. I think they made a movie about that. Did you guys see that movie?
Not that particular one, but it's also Asiatic.
Asiatic. Okay, that's it. Sorry.
Yeah, because it's of Asian origin.
That's true. See, my mispronunciations, my lips.
It's okay.
Sometimes. I'm terrible at that. But thank you for correcting me always. I love it. That's why we work together. Heading south, traditional archery among the Aboriginal people of the Americas is still intact today among the indigenous groups in tropical South America, where sheer inaccessibility has prevented foreign contact until relatively recently. Now sometimes referred to as uncontacted people, these communities are now mostly found in densely forested areas of Amazonia. Many of these groups live within protected areas that allow them to continue to follow a traditional lifestyle, and the use of the bow remains routine. Most indigenous forest people use simple self bows constructed of long or local materials such as palm wood, beech wood, and leather wood. The extremely long arrows commonly used, up to 2.5 meters, are tipped with bamboo or wooden heads, depending on their use, and are too long to make quivers practical. So instead, they are usually carried in the archer's hand. The arrows are so long that they can be used as a kind of lance when there is no time to draw a bow. Some tribal people still use poison arrowheads, which are usually carried separately in a special container, while indigenous people in Amazonia still use the bow. From minimal studies they have been made, it is nothing more than a tool among many of the that must be used for hunting and survival. Okay, I think I'm going to skip this. This is more about the things. American missionaries, metal tip bows. They started giving them metal tip bows. Then we get on to this. We got a lot of cool pictures. We'll just skim through this because we got a lot to talk about. We got their shields. The Indians made these beautiful shields. As you can see, these were really pretty. They got really neat designs on them. I mean, I'm sure you all seen them in movies and in pictures. They really did a lot of work on this kind of stuff, you know. And here's a guy. He's all dressed up, ready to go. His shield in hand. He's got his spear. He's got probably his, and there's his bow right there. He's all set. He got his arrows in his hand, and you see in his hand he's got his quiver of arrows, and in back of him there too. So that if you met up on the roadside, that's what Indian would look like. And then of course he's got the thrown tomahawk.
Can I interject something before you go too much further, Robert? I'm sorry. The shield is more of a medicine shield.
Oh, well, see, that's why we're doing this, learning something.
The way that people would look at a medieval shield, because the shield was made out of hide. How much is that hide really going to protect you? But it was a spirit shield. So they, when they carried that shield, the spirits would protect them from the enemy. So it wasn't so much that the shield protected them physically from their enemy. Okay.
Yep.
Just want to point that out.
That is awesome. That I did not know that. I didn't, that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
And can I throw something else in, since you were talking about spears and now you're moving into tomahawks?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's been a lot of discussion about where the arrowheads came from and who started the first one and all that. But here's one thing they found out, that some of the native tools going way back, the arrowheads and the spear points were supposed to come out so that they could load it again. Now I've got, I don't know how well this can be seen, but
hang on, I'll make it seen. Just watch your, okay, go ahead. Wow.
I'm trying to get better light on this. Okay. This was given to me by the shaman who trained me, and it's wrapped with animal sinew here, and leather will stretch. So if it gets wet or damp, like a drum, it changes everything. So it will stretch. But this was metal that he made and inserted in here, and he gave this to me as a present. But there were feathers on here and some other things, but in the old days, the point was supposed to come out. If it was a spear, because they wanted to wound the animal, so they would push it in and be able to leave the blade in, flint or otherwise, and then pull the handle back out and reload it. And many folks don't know about that. They think they just carried a bunch of spears. No, they carried one handle and several spear points. So if they left in the animal, fine, they pull it out, pull one out of the little pouch, stick it back in and start jabbing again.
Wow.
So I thought I would just throw that in there while you were discussing it.
Well, that is really good information. See, this is why we learn so much out here on this, on this show, because, I'm learning all the time, and I'm glad you could point that out. That was super cool. I did not know that. didn't read that anywhere either. So that is okay. We're gonna finish up with some more of these pictures, and then I'll be done with mine. We got the tomahawks. Everybody loves pictures anyway, so there we go. We got the tomahawks, and if I can, where am I? Why is this not going? Oh, I gotta shrink it all the way down. Okay, and then we got all kinds of. There's your spear right there. There's your spear right in the center. We got a tomahawk. We got there's a bow and arrows. These are knives, different knives that they had. It was just a neat little picture that I found. I thought it was just representing some more different styles of the tomahawk. You know, metal ones, and there's a stone one here. There's another spear that's kind of like the one you got there, with the tip on the end, and there would have been your feathers you're talking about hanging off the side. And there we go. So David, tell me about this. See this picture with the arrowheads? See, now I guess you're right. Those stone tips, you could have just broke them right off. No?
Well, no, that's different. These have been tied on for sure. And they're made for arrows. And if you can see the little notch down towards the root of the spearhead there, they made those notches so they could tie them on.
Yeah.
But the spearheads, these are arrowheads.
Oh, okay.
So spearheads were made. I don't really know how they did it, but they've got a lot of evidence that they were interchangeable for the spears, not the arrows.
Yeah, I guess you could carry a whole bunch of arrows. Maybe I got a spear here. What is this thing? This is like a fish catcher thing or something, isn't it? Yeah, this is for fishing. Fishing spear. There we go. These are smaller ones, I guess. They look like they got clay on them, holding the tips and arrowheads in. You know. Okay. And then here's this is a bigger spear. That one looks like it's got a stone tip on it.
Yep.
And it's kind of, I don't know how that's stuffed in there.
It's glue.
That looked, yeah, glue. I did not know the Indians had glue. That was the one thing that was amazing to me. Here's another arrow, a spear thing. You wouldn't want to get speared by one of those things, boy. I tell you what, that'd kill you dead. And here's a bunch of antler pieces that they had, or bones and stuff, making for knives, hanging on their neck or carrying with them, for all different shapes and sizes for doing things, I guess. But they all had holes in them. So like either that's to tie them on or to carry them with them on a string or something. I don't understand that. There's another spearhead. Some more tools. Hunting. Oh, this was really interesting. I'll cut it short here. Native American hunters could read the signs of forest and the streams with a degree of accuracy to the rest of us is surprising, and they could make a fair estimate of a number of kinds of animals found in the locality. It is essential for the successful hunter and trapper to be able to read the signs accurately. The experienced hunter knew instantly on seeing a track just what animal it was that passed that way, and by knowing its habits. They knew about when it was likely to return. He also could also tell what fair accuracy at what time the animal had passed that way, and frequently knew whether it was a male or a female, whether it was looking for food or a place to rest, whether it was on its regular route of travel, and where it was going. All right, well, I am going to stop right there because I'm getting a little long in the tooth for me. And there we go. So anyway, Linda, I got a question for you. So you're studying plants. I got a book here. So when David reads his story, I am gonna as soon as he tells me which page to find, I am gonna I got a book here on plants and stuff that I'm gonna look up and and we'll discuss a little bit of that because you're into that, right?
Yeah, I've got lots of books on that here. I was going to add to your story on the weapons. You know, the philosophy for the Cherokee was the do you kitu, or I think that's how you pronounce it. I've been working on that, but it's called the right way, and that was an attempt to maintain harmony and balance in like every aspect of their lives. So they got everything from the environment: their medicine, clothes, weapons, shelter, music instruments, the personal adornments. So they tried to use every part of everything that they had, because one of their beliefs was that diseases came from animals if they killed them too many, or if they didn't respect them or use all the parts of an animal for a good purpose. Once they had killed it, then they would get sick, and then they believed that the plants would come in and help them to get over that sickness. So they had glue's made from hooves, so they use that to make their glue.
Nice. Well, see, that's you know, I mean, that is something to be ingenious about, because you know, as you know, today we all depend on everybody else to make, you know, I do my little part, you do your little part, everybody does their little part, and then the world goes round. But back then, they only had the few people they had to look at to make the world go round. You know, can you sharpen a stone, and can you make some you know, medicine, and can you do this, and can you do that, and hey, we killed an animal and we got to make every bit of that animal useful, because it ain't like you can go down to town and buy some more.
Can I add something?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. The old stories say, and I can't remember what tribe or what region this came from, but that long ago, when men and animals could speak together, the deer and the buffalo and the great antelope, they gave themselves to the people. Turkey is a giveaway, and turkey gave itself, you know, to feed the people, to keep them from starving. But then the people got to where it just they forgot to honor the animals. And so the animals and the plants and the minerals had a discussion with the creator and said, listen, the people used to be kind to us and honor us, and now they just take advantage of us. And creator said, well, I'll take care of that. So with that came the diseases, the ailments. And so that, you know, when man got sick, man said, well, wait a minute, creator, hang on, wait a minute. Creator said, well, look, you know, to remind you that you must, you know, maintain your honor to those things that you kill, you're going to get sick. But I'll tell you what, for every sickness, there is a plant that I will provide that will heal it. And there are minerals in the ground and of the earth that will help you to cure and to stay healthy. So if you maintain the honor, then you will stay healthy and everything will be groovy. Basically, I don't know if creator knew about groovy yet back then, but
but all in good way. But you know, that makes a whole lot of sense. I agree with that. It makes a lot of sense. And then that's true. And they do rituals. Remember, we read that one where, I mean, even when they found the peyote, the lady was like, oh, and I was taught how, here's the peyote, and I know, and then he taught me how to do the ritual to do the peyote.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay. Always something. Now, Linda, do you incorporate rituals with the plant medicine? That is a good question.
Yes, I just started doing that last year. If I know what's wrong with someone, like if they tell me their symptoms or what's going on with them, I can, or if the doctor's diagnosed them with something and I know of a herb that might help them with osteoporosis, or like a lot of women have a lot of deficits and things like that. So yeah, I do some rituals. I just started learning about the drumming circle. I went to Sedona in July and actually went to a drumming circle, and the lady that was there, she like made me, she was like, I want you to sing in your Native American voice. I want you to just, you'll feel it. And I recorded it, and I mean, it just started coming out as we were drumming. And she said, you need to start practicing some rituals, like learn. And I got my first medicine card set while I was there, and really started reading up on it and how to make the medicine wheel and things like that. So yeah, I do. I set intention into things that I make for people. And a lot of my friends will ask me to do something special for them. So, but just every day, like if I'm just, people are asking me for certain teas and things like that, I don't do rituals over everything. But, you know, it's very time consuming. So when you're going to do those and set intentions for people, it's very time consuming. It takes a lot of energy. So I don't do it with everything because it does take so much energy.
It'll drain you real quick.
That is so true. You know, I hear that a lot. I mean, Grandpa Brian was on, and he was talking about, you know, doing the Reiki healing and, you know, all the stuff he has to do for that. And he said drains him and makes him tired too.
I do Reiki as well. So I know. Yeah. Yeah. It makes, you can, now you get a lot of blessings from it. I do get a lot of uploads and things like that after I help someone, or I do Reiki, or I help someone with a herbal supplement, or I make teas. And I'm working now. Actually, I just talked to Jules today about trying to learn how to make some good balms and things like that. I'm trying to expand out the things that I do, but I have noticed it. You get uploads and blessings in return. Like you can feel it come in. It's like an activation, and it's beautiful. It's very nice, but that's not why I do it. It just started happening to me, and I was thankful for it because it kind of re-energizes you a little bit. But yeah, you have to drink a lot of water, and you have to rest, and you know, it's takes a lot of your energy.
It's just amazing. Yeah. And what a feeling that is. That is just, it just blows my mind that, you know, that you stumbled onto this, and it's just, you know, in you all this time. And now it's, you know, it's starting to manifest itself in you, and you're bringing you're watering it
funny.
Like a plant.
You know, all my life I've been told, my grandmother used to tell me, you have such healing hands. And I've had, you know, boyfriends be like, you've got such healing hands. And people would come to me and want me to talk to me about anything. They were always, these strangers just walk up and they're telling me all their troubles. And I'm like, what? So I did do psychology. I was a counselor for a while, and I started noticing that I could touch people and it helped them feel better. And I thought, well, maybe there is something to this healing hands thing. And my friend in the UK got in touch with me last year, and he's a Reiki master. And he said, look, I've been told to attune you for a Reiki master. You have natural healing abilities. And I was like, what are you talking about? I haven't went to school. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, you don't have to, Linda. It's in you. Like, I need you to just listen and do and he said, lay down on your left side now. And he attuned me, and I actually felt the frequencies come in, and I learned how to draw the symbols and stuff. But I have drawn them over myself so much that now it's like part of me. I can just visualize the person, and I can feel it. I can feel the frequency going out to them, and actually feel the warmth that I wrap around them to try to heal their bodies. And, you know, I always thank spirit. I thank myself. I thank the Reiki. I'm like, you know, for using me to help someone, because that's what I was put on this planet to do. And that's where my heart lies. So
amazing. You know, we have such a wonderful group of people here, and, you know, and it's nice to get you on and really find out, you know, who you are and what you're doing. And, you know, I see you in chat all the time, and it's like, there's so much more behind Linda Brooks than we ever imagined. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So, David, what do you got for us?
Is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn. You got a story? What you going to do here?
Well, I got a couple of stories, but we're running a little long in the tooth. So you want a short one at least?
Yes, a short, at least one, and pull a card.
Well, I've been playing with the cards, so nanny nanny boo boo.
I could see him shuffling there.
Nanny nanny boo boo. I've been shuffling the cards here, so I know y'all are up to it, and I was like, and you know, Spirit's been poking me in the side. Get the cards, Dave. You know,
Yeah.
so. But anyway,
well, you're getting the story. I'm getting the story. I'm going to tell you the story
I go
about Big Al.
Go to about
Big
200-ish.
Okay, 200-ish, and I am going to pull that.
Yeah, and I'll see you. I will. Wait, maybe not quite that far.
Oops, 200-ish. Okay. And while you're tell me which day, I'm going to tell you about Big Al, who's got 5 playing cards left. He's got the 2, 3, the 4 of clubs, and the 4, 6 of spades left to be assigned if you want to be in the second deck of the Soul Tribe cards. And he is also known as Chief Honeydew. Anybody didn't notice that? While he's at home, he's the Chief Honeydew. I had to get that one out there for you, Al. But anyway.
It's page 173.
73.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden.
Too far. First, I go not too much. Yeah, we got to have one story tonight. It wouldn't be the same without at least one story. And while you're reading the story, I gotta find my.
But we've had wonderful stories from Linda. And
oh yeah,
about you know.
What a surprise! It's so cool to find out other stuff and you know, have her come on and tell us a little bit about, you know, other experiences like this. You know, yeah. Just yeah. Hang on, I'm just babbling.
Okay, but I want to ask Miss Linda a question.
Go ahead.
Have you had any experiences that you would share with the little people, ethereals, that kind of thing?
That has actually been happening to me as far back as I can remember, like back to 3 years old. Yes, I have. It probably happened before that, but that was probably at a time when I didn't have language yet. So maybe my memories aren't able to tap into that yet. So, but I do remember one time I was 12 years old and I was at my friend's house, and her father wasn't a very good man, and he was, you know, trying to do things with me that he shouldn't have been. And I asked for protection, and I was laying in her bed with her. She was in front of me, and I looked over in the corner outside in the hallway, and they had a wood stove. And there was this huge being standing there. And to me, it probably, you would have thought it was a demon, not you, but like people in general, it would have been a description of a demon, but I was very calmed by it. And I could see it standing there, and its eyes were like red. And I believe that it was sent there to protect me, and I knew it was. And it's funny because a couple of years ago, a friend of mine did an Akashic reading, and he messaged me and said, yeah, I was told to tell you not to be afraid of the red-eyed beings if they come back. And I was like, how did he know I saw a red-eyed being when I was a kid? So yeah, I've had a lot of experience. I've had experiences with spirits, people passing. I've been around a lot of people when they passed away because of my old jobs. And I've seen them leave. I've seen I saw my grandmother's golden energy go by me, and she touched my face. I was with my friend Curly when he passed, and I was holding his feet, and I felt his energy go out of his body. And then I saw like a blue mist come up, and watched as it went out of the room, and nobody else saw it. But yeah, I have had my daughter has had an experience with a Pleiadian. I'm pretty sure I showed her pictures. Pleiadian was at her father's house a couple of times checking on her, a tall, like humanoid being that shone blue, and she thought it was female. I'm thinking it might have been, I think it's Mira or Mina, one of the Pleiadians. But it happens to me. It happens to my kids, my sons. They have stories. Like, it seems to run in my bloodline for some reason. Yeah.
Okay. Now, whether you did it intentionally or not, I was asking more about little people and fairies and things. versus
Oh yes, I've seen
spirits. But
I've
you
seen woodland
that was good
creatures.
information.
Yeah. I've seen little woodland creatures. I've never seen the fairies, but I've seen the little woodland creatures out in my woods running around, peeking behind trees.
Okay. Well, my point about that is that it seems that people who have the ability to at least perceive ethereal beings always have a better insight to, I guess, the spirit side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
I would, yes. I would, yeah. I have found little fairy tools and weapons though. They leave them on my porch steps sometimes. Like they look like little swords, and I found little shovels, and I picked it up and think it was just a piece of a stick, and then I find another one the next day, and I'm like, they're leaving me something. And I found little things out in my field where they've stacked rocks, and it looks like little huts. I think they're building a little fairy garden out there. I'm scared to take pictures of it because I'm afraid if I do, they'll be.
Yeah, you can tick them off easy. But many years ago, I've been here on my place now almost 40 years. And many years ago, there's a local place down here in South Georgia, the Tama Lower Creek tribal land. Anyway, they have a powwow once or twice a year, and I was down there, and I was talking about little people with some friends of mine that we went to the powwow with. I get out of the car, I walk about 20 feet to the first booth, and there's this nice Indian lady behind the booth, and she looked at me and she goes, you know, you got to leave a little space under the door so the little ones can get in and out. And I went, what? Were you driving in the car with us? Because we were just talking about, and she told me this. She didn't know me from Adam's aunt, you know what I mean? And she went into this whole spiel about the little people, and you know, you should leave them offerings outside so they don't have to crawl under the door. You know, they would really appreciate that. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, but anyway, that's interesting. All right, we ready for the story now? Thank you, Linda.
Oh, yeah.
I know I put her on the spot, but thank you.
I think that's how you get the best stories. Anyway, okay. Linda, I hope you come back someday after this. Gee. But anyway, okay, here we go. We're all set. Can you see the picture?
Oh yeah, I got to read from the book anyway, but here we go. 3, 2, 1. Deer Hunter and the White Corn Maiden. Tiwa. Long ago in the ancient home of the San Juan people, in a village whose ruins can be seen across the river from present-day San Juan, lived 2 magically gifted young people. The youth was called Deer Hunter because even as a boy, he was the only one who never returned empty-handed from a hunt. The girl, whose name was White Corn Maiden, made the finest pottery and embroidered clothing with the most beautiful designs of any woman in the village. These 2 were the handsomest couple in the village, and it was no surprise to their parents that they always sought one another's company. Seeing that they were favored by the gods, the villagers assumed that they were destined to marry. And in time, they did. And contrary to their elders' expectations, they began to spend even more time with one another. White Corn Maiden began to ignore her pottery making and embroidery, while Deer Hunter gave up hunting at a time when he could have saved many of his people from hunger. They even began to forget their religious obligations. At the request of the pair's worried parents, the tribal elders called a council. This young couple was ignoring all the traditions by which the tribe had lived and prospered. And the people feared that angry gods might bring famine, flood, sickness, or some other disaster upon the village. But Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden ignored the council's pleas and drew closer together, swearing that nothing would ever part them. A sense of doom pervaded the village, even though it was late spring and all nature had unfolded in new life. Then suddenly, White Corn Maiden became ill. and within 3 days, she died. Deer Hunter's grief had no bounds. He refused to speak or eat, preferring to keep watch beside his wife's body until she was buried early the next day. For 4 days after death, every soul wanders in and around its village and seeks forgiveness from those whom it may have wronged in life. It is a time of unease for the living, since the soul may appear in the form of a wind, a disembodied voice, a dream, or even in human shape. To prevent such a visitation, the villagers go to the dead person before burial and utter a soft prayer of forgiveness. And on the 4th day after death, the relatives gather to perform a ceremony releasing the soul into the spirit world from which it will never return. But Deer Hunter was unable to accept his wife's death. Knowing that he might see her during the 4-day interlude, he began to wander around the edge of the village. Soon he drifted farther out into the fields, and it was here at sundown on the 4th day, even while his relatives were gathering for the ceremony of release, that he spotted a small fire near a clump of bushes. Deer Hunter drew closer and found his wife, as beautiful as she was in life and dressed in all her finery, combing her long hair with a cactus brush in preparation for the last journey. He fell weeping at her feet, imploring her not to leave, but to return with him to the village before the releasing rite was consummated. White Corn Maiden begged her husband to let her go, because she no longer belonged to the world of the living. Her return would anger the spirits, she said, and anyhow, soon she would no longer be beautiful, and Deer Hunter would shun her. He brushed her pleads aside by pledging his undying love and promising that he would let nothing part them. Eventually, she relented, saying that she would hold him to his promise. They entered the village just as the relatives were marching to the shrine with the food offering that would release the soul of White Corn Maiden. They were horrified when they saw her, and again they and the village elders begged Deer Hunter to let her go. He ignored them, and an air of grim expectancy settled over the village. The couple returned to their home, but before many days had passed, Deer Hunter noticed that his wife was beginning to have an unpleasant odor. Then he saw that her beautiful face had grown ashen and her skin was dry. At first, he only turned his back on her as they slept. Later, he began to sit up on the roof all night, but White Corn Maiden always joined him. In time, the villagers became used to the sight of deer hunters racing among the houses and through the fields, with White Corn Maiden now not much more than skin and bones in hot pursuit. Things continued in this way until one misty morning, a tall and imposing figure appeared in the small dance court at the center of the village. He was dressed in spotless white buckskin robes and carried the biggest bow anyone had ever seen. On his back was slung a great quiver with the two largest arrows anyone had ever seen. He remained standing at the center of the village and called in a voice that carried into every home for Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden. Such was its authority that the couple stepped forward meekly and stood facing him. The awe-inspiring figure told the couple that he had been sent from the spirit world because they, Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden, had violated their people's traditions and angered the spirits. That because they had been so selfish, they had brought grief and near disaster to the village. Since you insist on being together, he said, you shall have your wish. You will chase one another forever across the sky, as visible reminders that your people must live according to tradition if they are to survive. With this, he set Deer Hunter on one arrow and shot him low into the western sky. Putting White Corn Maiden on the other arrow, he placed her just behind her husband. That evening, the villagers saw two new stars in the west. The first, large and very bright, began to move east across the heavens. The second, a smaller, flickering star, followed close behind. So it is to this day, according to the Tiwa. The brighter one is Deer Hunter, placed there in the prime of his life. The dimmer star is White Corn Maiden, set there after she had died. Yet she will forever chase her husband across the heavens. Translated by the Tiwa by Alfonso Ortiz.
Ah, another good story. Another good story.
Thank you for reading to us, David. I love your voice. It just calms me when I hear you read.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've practiced. Well, not, yeah, practiced. It's an art. But going to powwows and things and telling stories, and I used to take my puppets with me and tell stories with the puppets. So I have been very blessed in my many years to be able to develop this talent. And I'm absolutely so proud and happy to share it. Robert picks on me every Tuesday we do this. And thank you, Linda, and the other people who listen to the stories, because I'm just the interpreter. I'm the storyteller. But there's always something in the stories. For example, for me tonight, where that story is the unending love of two people, regardless. You know, you say, well, what about everybody else? And were they selfish? Well, one could say, yeah, but at the same point, that was such a true love that he simply couldn't abandon her. So, there's different, they should have been better and they shouldn't have done it. But at the same time, I feel sad for both of them, because they obviously had a connection that nobody else understood, and it got them into trouble. And now they're chasing each other across the sky. So, but anyway.
No, I do love the stories. That's right. They all have great meaning. And as y'all know, once we do our show and stuff, I chop them up, and you can find them in Milky Way shorts with David reading the story. So if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, you can just go back and listen just to the stories as they come out, hopefully more and more. And I've been trying to do some other little things, so you all have something a little bit during the week. Every day of the week you can tune in at 9 o'clock and usually hear something from us here. Either it'll be a story or information about something. So there you go. Anyway, what do we got? Go ahead.
All right, everybody. What card do you want me to pull?
It's not what card we want you to pull. It's
yeah. No. I'm just listening to the spirits. So
spirit wants us to pull.
This is so what message needs to be brought to you is, I guess, would be the thing, because it ain't about what I want.
Set our intent.
A lot of upside down stuff tonight. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Here's a primary card that's Crow, and it's upside down, which I'm like, One of them is Swan upside down. And as much as I'm supposed, wait, hang on. Okay, read Crow first. All right. I was going to do the Swan. They're going, nah, read the Crow first. And they're usually right.
Read the Crow first. Linda, do you read any cards?
I do. I actually just read on Andromeda 7 Friday.
Oh, okay. Okay,
yeah.
Good deal. Good
so
deal.
I have several different decks. I have 3 different spirit animal medicine decks and another heart oracle deck that's mostly nature. So yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, that's so cool. You're like way into all this. This is awesome. Awesome. I
was in the Bible Belt. This didn't come about until about 3 years ago when I started getting kicked in the butt, and my guys were like, hey, all of these people coming at me saying, you got talent, you need to be doing this. And then I was like, finally believed it. And I was like, okay, I need to be doing this.
Yeah. You're in the Bible Belt, and No, hopefully they don't come hunt you down.
No, it'll
Man.
be okay.
Yeah, I know. But
Okay.
yeah, here we
Crow.
go.
All right,
Crow.
David.
Crow is law. Number 24. Crow, are you calling? So I may know the secrets of balance within my soul? Or are you sending your sacred call just to remind me of universal law? There is a medicine story that tells of Crow's fascination with her own shadow. She kept looking at it, scratching at it, pecking at it until her shadow woke up and became alive. Then Crow's shadow ate her. Crow is dead Crow now. Dead Crow is the left-handed guardian. If you look deeply into Crow's eye, you will have found the gateway to the supernatural. Crow knows the unknowable mysteries of creation and is the keeper of sacred law. Since Crow is the keeper of sacred law, Crow can bend the laws of the physical universe and shapeshift. This ability is rare and very unique. Few adepts exist in the worlds today, and fewer still have mastered Crow's art of shapeshifting. This art includes doubling or being in two places at one time consciously, taking on another physical form and becoming the fly on the wall to the observer what is happening far away. The Europeans that came to Turtle Island were named the Boat People by Slow Turtle. Even with the knowledge of alchemy possessed by certain boat people, none had ever seen the powerful shape-shifting of shamans who utilized Crow medicine. Crow medicine people are often masters of illusion. All sacred texts are under the protection of Crow. Creator's book of law or book of seals is bound in crow feathers. Crow feathers tell of spirit made flesh. Crow is also the protector of the Yogala, or the ancient records. The sacred law belts or wampum belts beaded by native women long before the boat people or the Europeans came to this continent contain knowledge of the Great Spirit's law and are kept in the black lodges, the lodges of women. The law which states that all things are born of women is significant by Crow. Children are taught to behave according to the rules of a particular culture. Most Orthodox religions systems create a mandate concerning acceptable behavior with the context of worldly affairs. Do this so and you will go to heaven. Do that and you will go to hell. Different formulas for salvation are demanded by each true faith. That's in quotation marks. Human law is not the same as sacred law. More so than any other medicine, Crow sees that the physical world and even the spiritual world, as humanity interprets them, are an illusion. There are billions of worlds. There are an infinitude of creatures. Great Spirit is within all creatures. If an individual obeys Crow's perfect laws as given by the Creator, then at death he or she dies a good medicine death, going on to the next incarnation with a clear memory of his or her past. Crow is an omen of change. Crow lives in the void and has no sense of time. The ancient chief tells us that Crow sees simultaneously the three fates, past, present, and future. Crow merges light and darkness, seeing both inner and outer reality. If Crow medicine appears in your card spread, you must pause and reflect on how you see the laws of the Great Spirit in relation to the laws of humanity. Crow medicine signifies a firsthand knowledge of a higher order of right and wrong than that indicated by the laws created in a human culture. With Crow medicine, you speak in a powerful voice when addressing issues that for you seem out of harmony, out of balance, out of whack, or just unjust. Now, it was upside down. So that's just, and there's still more about crow. But if you are, so upside down. So you are an outlaw today, huh? This is one of the varied messages of crow reversed. The rebel in you has given a yell, and all hell is about to break loose. Now, this is for y'all. This is what y'all asked for. A word to the wise at this point: make sure that if you are stepping on toes, you have some backup. The catalyst for a barroom brawl is usually the person with two black eyes. That is what it means to eat crow. Now, I just point this out just because it's weird. I did a show the other night about catalyst, and it showed up in this. So for me, it's like, whoa. All right. If you do not plan to go to such extremes, crow reverse may indicate that you are merely cheating a little on your diet, or covertly watching the neighbors having a spat, or thinking promises are made to be broken. In any of these situations, the only loser is you. That's true. If you are lying to yourself on any level, you have lost the power of crow. Think about it, and maybe your inner truth will come to you. In seeing what is true, you may need to weed out past beliefs or ideas to bring yourself into the present moment. And I got to agree, there are a lot of people that are holding some things that are so ancient, it don't matter anymore. Contrary crow speaks of needing to remember that divine law is not judgment or denial of self-truths. Divine law is honoring, harmonizing, that comes from a peaceful mind, an open heart, a true tongue, a light step, a forgiving nature, and a love for all living creatures. Honor the past as your teacher, honor the present as your creation, and honor the future as your inspiration. Refusing to honor the shifts in your reality can cause emotional pain. An implosion of energy is apparent when rebellion surfaces. Contrary crow speaks of broken law. The law of expansion is broken by suppression. This may apply to a situation, an old habit, a person you have given your authority to, or your own fears. It is always your own creation, so call on crow and shift that creation to your new reality. And they want me to repeat this one part in here. Crow speaks of needing to remember that divine law is not judgment or denial of self-truths. Divine law is honoring harmony that comes from a peaceful mind, an open heart, a true tongue, a light step, a forgiving nature, and a love for all living creatures. Honor the past as your teacher, honor the present as your creation, and honor the future as your inspiration. Dang, that was a good card.
It was. It was a very good one.
Wow. Dang, that was a good card. Because in some things, you know, people are losing their faith because the world is so crazy right now, and they're losing their own spiritual self-worth. They don't feel like they're good enough. They're, you know, and y'all just got to calm down with that stuff. So ask crow, you know, ask crow. Now the next one, and it's upside down too, is swan. But we all know the story about the swan, right? It was the story of the ugly duckling. And he's black and nasty, and none of the other ducks want him. And come to find out later on, he ain't a duck. So now they just kind of kicked us in the butt, because we have to remember these simple divine laws, right? That really aren't that hard to follow. And this next one is swan, which is grace. Okie dokie.
Follow the laws
Swan,
of grace.
the power of woman entering sacred space, teaching future yet to come, bringing eternal grace. Little swan flew through the dream time. looking for the future. She rested for a moment on the coolness of the pond, looking for a way to find the entry point to the future. This was a moment of confusion for Swan, as she knew that she had happened into the dream time by accident. This was her first flight alone, and she was a bit concerned by the dream time landscape. As Swan looked high above Sacred Mountain, she saw the biggest swirling black hole she had ever seen. Dragonfly came flying by, and Swan stopped him to ask about the black hole. Dragonfly said, "Swan, that is the doorway to the other planes of imagination. I have been guardian of the illusion for many, many, many moons. If you want to enter there, you would have to ask permission and earn the right." Swan was not so sure that she wanted to enter the black hole. She asked Dragonfly what was necessary for her to earn entry. Dragonfly replied, you must be willing to accept whatever the future holds as it is presented, without trying to change Great Spirit's plan." Swan looked at her ugly little duckling body and then answered, "I will be happy to abide by Great Spirit's plan. I won't fight the currents of the black hole. I will surrender to the flow of the spiral and trust what I am shown." Dragonfly was very happy with Swan's answer, and he began to spin the magic to break the pond's illusion. Suddenly, Swan was engulfed by a whirlpool in the center of the pond. Swan reappeared many days later, but now she was graceful and white and long-necked. Dragonfly was stunned. "Swan, what happened to you?" he exclaimed. Swan smiled and said, "Dragonfly, I learned to surrender my body to the power of the Great Spirit and was taken to where the future lives. I saw many wonders high on Sacred Mountain, and because of my faith and my acceptance, I have been changed. I have learned to accept the state of grace." Dragonfly was very happy for Swan. Swan told Dragonfly many of the wonders beyond the illusion. Through her healing and her acceptance of the state of grace, she was given the right to enter the dream time. So it is that we learn to surrender to the grace of the rhythm of the universe and slip from our physical bodies into the dream time. Swan Medicine teaches us to be one with all planes of consciousness and to trust in the Great Spirit's protection. If you pull Swan, it ushers in a time of altered states of awareness and of development of your intuitive abilities. Swan Medicine people have the ability to see the future, to surrender to the power of the Great Spirit, and to accept the healing and transformation of their lives. Now, the card's upside down. Contrary, if you pulled Swan in reverse, it is warning you that you must acknowledge what you know. So stop denying your feelings and clutching things up. Now, this is for y'all, okay? Stop denying your feelings and clutching things up. You may be bumping into furniture, forgetting what you're saying in mid-sentence. If so, this is a sign that you are not grounded. Jump in place and hold the top of your head as you do so. This will get you back in touch with the earth and keep you from wandering into a dreamy reality that lessens your focus. Baths will help, as does going barefoot or doing some gardening. In any case, Swan Reverse says that you need to pay some attention to your body. It can seem as if you are flying without a pilot's license if you are not aware of when you take off or when you land. Not recognizing the shift from left brain to right brain is common when you are evolving spiritually. Now, they want you all to pay attention to this. Not recognizing the shift from left brain to right brain is common when you are evolving spiritually. This is all part of the developing the intuitive side of your nature and is a sign that you're not being conscious of your entry into other levels of awareness. In the development of your higher mind, you are embarking on new territory that has rules or universal laws of their own. Now, here we go. How is this tied into Crow? Universal law. You know, the dream time. And so Crow is the protector of, and right here on new Terry that has rules or universal laws of its own. So I don't see where the connection is, but they show me every time. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, in the world of spirit, you need to pay close attention to the unseen. You may sense or feel in a slightly different way, but this is gradual. Sometimes this shift is lost among your normal activities until you feel spaced out. At these moments, it is time to reconnect with Mother Earth. There are solutions. Notice your surroundings and touch the earth with your hands, your feet, or both, or just lay on the ground. Focus on one reality or the other. If your brain is flipping between them, focus on one. If you are being called to visit the dream time, stop what you are doing and be still, if you can. Enter the silence and empty your mind of chatter. Be receptive and open up so that the message may enter your consciousness. If you are just preoccupied, daydreaming, or spacey, you need to focus on doing some physical activity. Use your reasoning side of your brain to make a list of what you need to do next. And this will stop the clutter in your mind that may be causing the confusion. How about that, y'all? So we've got Crow Medicine and we've got the Grace of Swan.
I like it. I like it a lot. I hope somebody got the right person got what they needed out of that, because I thought it was very interesting myself.
It always surprises me. Every single time I pull the cards, it always surprises me. There's always a link to the other card somewhere in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, it's been a great night. I'm so glad both of you could come on. Linda, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you'll join us again sometime. And
I'll be glad to.
And share some, some stuff. I have, you're talking about, I got this is my book of plant medicine, how the Indians used to use plant medicine and food medicine, So yeah, I don't know if you ever had this book, but I got this. It's one of the things I'd gotten a whole bunch of books. This was my brilliant idea. And I got a whole bunch of plant books and I sent a bunch to David and everything. We worked it out. We were going to do a whole bunch of shows on plant medicine, but we never quite got around to that.
Okay.
But maybe one of these days, you're the right person, might be the right person to talk about this stuff with.
I will. I can talk to you about it.
Oh, that would be awesomely interesting.
And we could tie it into a native story time also, because a lot of the things we know came from native cultures, whether it's North American or not, but but yeah, we could just do one show specifically on medicinals and that type of thing.
Yep.
Actually, I have a Native American, the Native American Herbal Bible, and there's many stories in the Cherokee myths and legends that are about medicine and plants and all that stuff. So,
that would be so cool. It's very cool, but and awesome. So we're gonna have another good show. Everybody, just hold your horses and come back the next time. We'll try to get. I don't know if you'll come on the next time or whenever, but you will be back, and
Thank
that
you,
will
Linda.
be great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, David. I've enjoyed being here. I appreciate it. Thank you, Robert.
Oh, thank you much. And with that, thank you everybody who came
I love
tonight.
you guys.
Cheers.
A
Be
lot
safe.
of people been coming in and everything. So anyway, remember, the biggest thing is remember to be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all, everybody. Peace.